Hi, friend. Welcome to Fear into Faith. This is our Miracles, Signs, and Wonders series. My name is Summer Day, and today we're going to share with you a story of a man who was going 60 miles an hour on the freeway in rush hour traffic and had a front tire blow. And he's going to share how the Lord showed up for him in that moment. His name is Loren Norris, and he is the author of 7 books. He's an international leadership speaker, trainer, and coach who has spoken on stages in front of 40,000 people. He's the 2021 President's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient and the creator of Story Power TV and founder of Tell It Like It Is TV. Hello, Mr. Loren Norris.
Thank you very much.
You're kind of a big deal.
No, nobody knows who I am.
Yeah, but I know who you are, and you're kind of a big deal.
That's all that matters, yes.
I'm so happy to have you here because,
Thank you.
Not all the people that are coming to the show do I know personally, but I have known you personally for a little while now, and you're just a man of great integrity, a man of honor.
Thank you.
A very connected man, a smart man. You're all the things. You got it all going on. So I'm happy to have you here. I can't wait to hear your story. So let's just go there. We're going to talk more about you later, and people can get to know you. But I feel like I just don't want to make them wait 60 miles an hour on the freeway. Sounds pretty exciting. So let's just go ahead and talk about your story with the Lord. How long ago was this?
This would have been 95, around 95. It was shortly after I was married.
Okay.
Freeway might be a stretch because it was in Tyler, Texas.
Oh, so highway.
It was a highway.
See, I'm from Los Angeles, so
yeah.
highways,
so
freeways,
so in Los Angeles, it'd be like a driveway because it's barely wide enough for 2 cars to pass without knocking each other's mirrors off.
Got it.
Had bar ditches on either side.
Okay.
And 100-foot tall pine trees right past the bar ditch, which means you got asphalt. And sometimes the yellow line on the edge of the road is further out than the edge of the asphalt. You know what I mean? Like the road fault. So like you get the line down the middle, and you get the lines on the edge of the road to tell you where the edge of the road are, so that little reflectors in the rain.
Yeah.
And sometimes the asphalt crumbles off, and so the edge of the road is actually closer to the center than the lines that would tell you it's the edge of the road.
Ooh, okay.
So it's not much of a road, really.
Not much of a road.
It's paved, though. And so they called it Old Jacksonville Highway.
Okay.
And I got off work late. I was going to meet my wife for dinner. And as I'm cruising down this highway on my boss's motorcycle, a little 250 Enduro, so it's got those big knobby tires on it. You know, you hear them go by, making a whole lot of noise.
Those tires.
Those
okay,
tires.
I know what the other thing, I don't know motorcycles, so
it's
the
one
tires,
that's, you could mistake it for a farm tool more than a street motorcycle because it looks more like something you ought to be racing in motocross.
So it's not like a big Harley.
No, not like that at all.
Okay,
yeah.
it's a little guy.
I kind of looked like a chicken riding a June bug when I was on it. It was a really small bike.
Like a chicken riding a June bug. Okay.
Yeah. So picture me, chicken riding a June bug. I'm zooming down the highway, maxed out speed at about 60 miles an hour. It's about as fast as this little 250 would go. And as I'm cruising down the road, the front tire goes flat on me. Now, it didn't like pop and explode. It just went like all the air left. And so the steel rim and then the rubber just flopped over to one side. And so it was pushing me, and I couldn't get it to lean or steer.
Ooh.
60 miles an hour, cars in front of me as far as I can see. I look in the mirror, there's cars behind me as far as I can see. It's the end of the day. It's rush hour. This is a shortcut to get around the loop in Broadway.
Yeah. Had you been like steering in and out of cars?
Oh, no. You can't do that on a road that narrow.
Oh, that's right. It's not
so
the
I'm
LA
just
freeway.
following all the cars and hoping nobody behind me runs over.
Okay.
And then I look over, and there's cars coming at me as far as the eye can see. And I'm going off the edge of the road, so I flip it really hard to try to get it back on the road, and the rubber goes to the other side. Now the steel wheel is aiming me right into oncoming traffic.
Oh, my.
And probably 50, 60 feet away, I see this pickup coming at me. Now, part of what strikes me about the pickup is I recognize the truck because it was identical to my grandfather's truck. 1987 Chevy Silverado Midnight Blue. I'll never forget that part. As I'm looking at that truck, it's all I can see. Cars whizzing by me as I'm trying to slow down as quick as I can, keep control of the bike.
I kind of want to ask you how you were feeling in that moment, but do you even remember how you were feeling in that moment?
Panicked.
Okay, I was like, were you feeling panic? Yeah. Were you realizing that?
See, I think back to those days when I was a kid and we'd do stupid things like put a board on a hot water heater and jump over it on a bicycle. And there's a moment, I don't know how many women can experience this, but young men can probably all tell you, the first time you get hit in football, and they call it a snot knocker.
Snot knocker.
Your nose runs, your eyes run, and everything in your body just kind of freezes up. the first time you crash your bicycle off of a water heater or into the back of a car that's parked on the side of the road, you kind of get that same sensation. So it's fear, it's anxiousness, it's pain, kind of all at once. I felt like that. And I'm looking at this truck, and I'm thinking, I can't control this bike. I can't stop this bike. I don't know if he even sees me. And we're coming at each other at 50 to 60 miles an hour.
Wow.
And the next thing I remember, I'm on the side of the road, on my side of the road, on a shoulder that's about 8 inches wide, standing beside the bike. It's still idling. I never touched the asphalt. I never crashed. I never went in the ditch. I never made impact with a pickup. And at this moment, when I realize I'm consciously aware that I'm somewhere, there's not a car to be seen. Not in any direction. It's almost as if a miraculous hand reached down into time and space and grabbed me by my head and went, okay, yeah, all right, all the cars are gone. Put them right back there.
Did you have a watch? Did you look to see if like time had
No, I was just
passed?
waiting for my heart to stop beating in my forehead because that was all I could hear at that moment. And I'm looking around going, where'd all the traffic go? Who put me on the side of the road? Who picked me up at, how come now my clothes are torn? The front wheel should at least be smashed.
Yeah.
Nothing. So I pushed it. I let it idle in first gear so that I didn't have to push the weight of it. But I walked about 1.5 miles, found a gas station, put the tire back on the rim, blew it up, and never repaired that tire for as long as I rode that bike.
Wow. So
It was just like in that moment, the air escaped.
Yeah. So first of all, that's the first crazy thing is like there was no reason for all of the air to go to just go out of the tire.
Right.
No reason for that at all. And then it never happened again. It was a perfectly fine tire.
Just put air in it, blew it back up, and it just worked just fine.
I feel like if I were you, I would have been afraid to ever use that tire again.
I had to get home.
Like, cursed tire, I'm never using it again. So yeah, I understand. Had to get home, and there would be I feel like there'd be no way you wouldn't have damage done to the.
It should have destroyed the tire. I mean, where did the pickup go? 50 feet away at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, did I go through it? Did he go around me? I mean, I just remember seeing it, and then it's like time stopped right there. And when somebody hit play again, the whole scene was different.
As if there had been a lapse. Do you remember if you closed your eyes or?
No. I remember seeing the truck, and then it was like literally somebody hit pause, rearranged the set, and put me back in place, and then hit play again.
Because I'm thinking if that bike had continued to go, you would have bent the
Would have bent the
metal
wheel. I would end up in the ditch because I couldn't control it. It was pushing me across the road. I should have been in the grass or stuck in a tree somewhere.
Yeah. So you said something about 8 inches wide? You were,
After the edge of the asphalt, there was about that much shoulder before about a 4-foot drop off.
So you're standing right on the edge in those.
Yeah, my feet were still on the asphalt, on the traffic lane, but there were no cars.
No cars. How many cars were there that just suddenly disappeared?
Well, there were at least 20 coming at me because we were about 1 mile from a red light, and on a little 2-lane road like that, several schools were dumping their traffic onto that road. So there were at least 24 cars coming at me. I was in the midst of a string that had just left another light coming off a 4-lane road onto this 2-lane road. And so there were probably 15 or 20 cars in front of me and the same behind me.
Oh my goodness. We're going to pause you right there. We're going to come back in just a second. We're going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back with you.
Losing a family in the line of duty is a heart-wrenching, painful experience that no one could ever be prepared for. The emotional loss can be traumatic, and the financial setbacks can be life-altering. Blue Family Fund is a nonprofit organization that exists to assist the families of fallen officers and first responders. Our focus is to raise funds for higher education, scholarships for dependents of law enforcement officers and first responders. We are here for you.
We are back with Loren Norris, who blew his front tire when he was driving down the highway on a motorcycle and had this miraculous occurrence where time almost stood still, you said. I love this story. I've never heard of anybody having a moment because there is no logic. Like the bike would have had to keep going.
Yeah.
So
It
what are your
defies all
thoughts?
physics.
Like, yes, tell me. You're a very smart, well-educated man. Tell me how have you rationalized this? What do you think happened?
You know, there's a couple of ways that I look at it. in the moment, I have to look at it and say, somebody had a better plan than it being over right there. But that also causes me to believe that somebody had a plan for it to be over right there.
Wow, both sides of the coin.
So if there was an intent for my demise, then I have to go back. The first person that I ever heard the word suicide from, I was 14. She was 19. She was the big sister of my best friend in high school. And her boyfriend had just broken up with her, was still trying to get stuff back from her house, and he was literally doing donuts in her front yard in his car. She was sitting on her bed with a loaded firearm.
Wow.
After about 45 minutes, I walked out the door with that firearm. And to the best of my knowledge, she's a mother now, and life is moving forward.
Amen.
That was many, many years ago. Like I said, I was 14.
Yeah.
So it was about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But I've known from early on that there was a call in my life. And I've said this many times before in many different environments, but I believe once God's put a call in your life, that gift is without repentance, meaning God doesn't change his mind about that.
Yeah, I know.
Now, that doesn't mean that those tools and those gifts can't be used for something stupid. I've done plenty of that. But that doesn't remove the assignment.
Okay.
And so the assignment that has been on my life has been there for as far back as I can remember. And every time I feel like I want to give up, there's that little moment where I have a conversation with somebody and they're like, you have no idea how much that meant to me. And I'm like, great. Another little encouragement to stay on the path to go after this thing that I'm so terrified of. At the same time, though, I know that there have been multiple times in my life where my own stupidity, put me in harm's way. I remember when I was in Lubbock, Texas, assigned there for the Reese Air Force Base. They have cloverleaf exits, all the highways. So every highway intersection, you go across the intersection, you make a loop, and that's how you get off to go the other way. And in order to get back on the highway, you just get back on the same ramp. And so literally you can do these like 4 clover leaves in a row and end up going right back where you were. It's like, going around the block.
Yeah.
And so I just put new tires on my car, literally did it myself by hand, 4-way, took them off, big crowbar, broke them off the rim, put them all back on there, did it all I was so proud of myself. And so I get to the exit off the loop to go out the highway to the base. And drifting before drifting was cool. I had a Formula 400 Firebird, and I dropped it down a gear, and I punched it, and I drifted all the way around that clover leaf. I came out of there spinning and sliding. I get to the first stoplight, and I stop. I was like, that was fun. My heart's racing, a little paddle, a little adrenaline running. I get ready to take off, and I hear the swap, and the car acts like it's got 4 square tires. And so I pull over in the parking lot, and I get out and I look, and I had 1 lug nut on each wheel. That is not enough lug nuts to hold the wheels on a car at 100+ miles an hour.
Yeah, no.
I don't know where they all went. I do know that that was a miracle that at least 1 stayed on each wheel to hold it on the car.
Yeah.
And I had to walk to a parts store and buy lug nuts to put on my car to get it back to the base.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And so even in my greatest stupidity, I had a roommate that literally, he told me he was firing off fireworks. I'm like, you were not firing fireworks. I know the difference between fireworks and a firearm. Stop doing that, you knucklehead. And he's like, no, it was the gun. I'm like, it wasn't the gun. I know what fireworks sound like. So I took the gun, took the magazine out, took all the rounds out, and laid them on the stove. And while we're arguing, he puts them all back in there, loads it, and then puts it to my head. At that point, I'd never studied any martial arts whatsoever. But the move that I did, it was like I was a marionette. Like somebody was moving. I'm like, wow, that was cool. I mean, that was so cool. And when I looked, his head was stuck in the wall. The gun was laying on the floor. It never went off. It was never fired. His feet were about 6 inches off the ground. That cost me money when we moved out of the apartment. But I wasn't prepared for that moment. I've never had a loaded gun in my head. I would have never thought of that. There's no way I've ever trained for that moment. At the time, I was 22 years old, or 20 years old. I hadn't even joined the Air Force yet. There's no way I knew that. Like a little divine inspiration.
Yeah.
I've had things go wrong with my car on the side of the road. And
So you're sharing all these stories, and I feel like I just want to take it back to the one with the motorcycle, because I asked you what were your thoughts, and you were saying you felt like there was a calling on your life, and you felt like there was definitely a force that wanted to stop you. Maybe that's how the tire just unexplainably kind of was like no longer full with air.
And all the lug nuts came off, and the roommate puts a loaded gun to my head,
Yeah.
and house fires.
Wow.
I mean, the list just goes on and on. And I feel like, I think back to David, right? The lion and the bear, and then the giant. You don't think the enemy had a target on his forehead early on?
Yeah.
And
So I got to ask, so do you feel like, what do you feel happened? Like you were on that bike and then you were on the side of the road.
I believe it was a cosmic war.
Wow.
I feel like the enemy said, now's a good time to take him out. I mean, no explanations, no arguments,
Yeah.
nobody can intervene. If I can put him head on into this car, who's going to know?
Yeah. Wow.
Who's going to know if it was intentional?
Wow.
I mean, did he lose control? Was he trying
Yeah.
to pass somebody?
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
Yeah.
And all of those questions would have been valid and realistic from anybody looking at the outside going, well, it's no surprise, He's always been a little reckless. He's riding a motorcycle in the middle of the day. I mean, that's crazy enough, right?
Yeah.
It's just a good excuse. But it was almost like the father said, I'm not done yet. I still need him for something.
Yeah. It's so good.
And I think there are a lot of people that if they were honest with themselves,
Yeah.
they look back on times in their life and go, it's inexplicable. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But we underestimate the number of times that God stepped in.
Yeah.
We forget the number of times that he went, hang on, just wait 10. We were stopped at a red light, 3 o'clock in the morning. Who even stops at red lights at 3 in the morning? I'm also the guy that the minute it's green, I'm like, boom, right?
Yeah.
So we're stopped at a red light in a big Ford Excursion. Have you ever seen one of those? It's like the family school bus.
I love those cars.
So we're stopped at the red light,
The family school bus.
and homeschool family, of course. And the light turns green, and something says, don't go. I'm like, okay. 8, 10, 12 seconds, the light's green, I'm not going. The little Toyota beside me is not going either. I'm like, that's bizarre, because usually I'm the first guy out of the gate, and I
Yeah.
would have tried to race him on any other night.
Yeah.
And then just about the time I'm ready to let go of the brake, I hear something say, don't go. And then I look up, and from the blind part of the intersection where you cannot see, of course the stereo is up, I cannot hear, an ambulance at full speed comes through that intersection so fast, all of its wheels left the ground on the hump of the highway as it crossed over. And I thought to myself, of all the things in the world, how hard do you have to hit a lifted Ford Excursion to do damage to it? I mean, 90% of the cars on the road, the Excursion drives away.
Yeah.
Not an ambulance, not at 70, not from a blind side on the passenger side.
Wow.
But if that Toyota had gone, they would have been dust.
Wow.
And whoever was in the ambulance.
Yeah.
But something said, wait, just wait, just wait.
Yeah.
Now you can go.
Wow. I love that. I love that you're sharing all that. I feel like we're going to have people that relate to that, but we got to take a break, so we're going to stop really quick. We're going to come back right after this commercial break. We are back with Loren Norris with not just one, but several inexplainable situations that he's been put in. And I'm hoping that one of you out there, you're asking yourself, wait a second, was that maybe the hand of God in my life? I would love to know if you have a story where you can't explain it, but it seemed almost as if time stood still and you were plucked out of a situation similar to Loren that day on that motorcycle. Absolutely amazing. You actually, when you're sharing all this, you're like, people need to stop and think, because God has spoken to us more times than we recognize, and you're sharing that story of the red light, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what happened to me. I was on the freeway going, I'm like you, I drive like fury, and I'm in the fast lane driving like fury, probably 80. Now, this was on the LA freeway, where we have like 5 lanes,
more than
okay? So if you're in the far lane, it takes a while to get over the curb. And I was driving with a friend of mine, and I actually remember hearing, like, hold on, hang on. And she remembers that I actually put my arm out and told her to hold on before my tire blew.
Wow.
I actually knew. And I actually started getting over before my tire blew. And I remember when we were finally on the side of the road, the guy who came and looked at it and helped change our tire from like AAA, he was floored. He could not believe that I actually was in the fast lane when I blew, because he was like, there's no way you could have been able to get over there with the way that the tire was so frayed and everything. And I haven't thought about that in a long time. You shared that, and I always remember like why I knew in advance to tell her to hold on, and I started getting over before I knew anything was wrong with the tire. So that's good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna earlier you and I were talking alone, and you said you have a vision. You have a vision or something that you...
I've had several.
Okay,
but there's
I think
one.
You had one that you thought...
I had one in particular that I think really fits the nature of what we're talking about right here.
And when did you have this vision?
When I was in the Air Force, so it would have been 91, 92 while I was in England.
So this was before the motorcycle accident then, right?
Nope, after, just after.
Okay, just after.
No, actually it was before the motorcycle because it was before I met my wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this vision, I'm on this cloud. And it was a vision to give me a different understanding of my own, not only salvation, but that putrid self-righteousness. So I'm on this cloud, and I'm riding with this angel. And the cloud is descending toward this line of people. And all of the people are in shackles, locked on their wrists, locked on their ankles, standing in line 2 by 2. And as we come forward, I see that there are a couple of them who've gotten away. And so there'll be like 1 or 2 strays walking off over here, but the person they were chained to is still in the line. And they're all marching slowly. And then I see 5 or 6 are missing, and they're walking away over the hill, and their partner's still there. And then I see like a row of maybe a dozen or more where the shackles are there, but all the people are leaving. And I'm thinking, they're getting away. They're getting away from the justice they deserve. And as the cloud gets a little bit closer, I see there's a whole lot more chains, and people are starting to step over them, and they just keep marching and keep marching. They're stepping over the chains, staying in their shackles, and then I see this angel, and he turns. He's got his wings dragging in the blood, and the tips of his wings are muddy and bloody from the blood on the bottom of his feet as he's been marching alongside this line. And as his feet are bloody and the tip of his wings are dragging through the dirt and the blood, it's just caking up on the bottom of his wings. He turns to me with giant tears in his eyes, and he said, you have to help me tell them they're free to go. The price has been paid. They're all free to go.
Wow.
And as we get closer to the end of the line, just as the cloud begins to ascend, I see the people walking off the edge of a cliff into eternal fire. Many years later, probably close to 20 years later, I wanted to teach a class at a large church in town. And I went to the pastor who was in charge of who gets to teach a class, and I told him, and I said, I want to talk about this vision concept. And he said, well, what does the Bible say about vision? So I really dug into a deep study on vision and testimony. And what I found was that passage, my people perish for a lack of a vision.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they know what that means, but they haven't really done a deep word study on it. And what it really means is people tend to walk around almost in anarchy when they don't have the comprehension that without Christ, life is damnation. That eternal life will be the damnation of hell. If they don't see that, then they just live their lives in anarchy as if there is no God. Without vision, the people perish. Perish is living your life in anarchy, self-destruction. And so putting those two together, the vision concept and the vision itself, God was revealing to me that I live in this judgment sometimes of self-righteousness. Look at all those people. They're in chains for a reason, but some of them are getting away.
Wow.
And what he was really saying was, no, they're all supposed to be free. The ones that are getting away, they're supposed to get away because somebody already paid the price for them. It's right for them to get away. But then God completed that vision later. And in that vision, I see these people going up over the hill. And I see several single moms. And she would run forward and drop her suitcase and then run back and grab the kids and bring them forward and then run back and grab their luggage and bring it forward. And then the process would just repeat. She'd move a little forward, stages at a time, moving the baggage and then the children and then their baggage and then her baggage and then the children and then their baggage. And it was as if Christ standing next to the cross looked at me and he said, you've got to tell them to leave the baggage behind. There's not enough time for that.
Wow.
And so the sense of urgency to say you can't just get out of the chains and move toward the cross. You've got to move toward the cross and leave all the garbage behind as well.
Wow. That's really profound. That's really profound. What do you think that message has to do with what we're doing now?
So I really think, I believe this, and it sounds almost arrogant to say, but I believe for every child of God, which would be every human born, those that know they're children of God and those who don't yet, that God has an intimate assignment for every one of them. Some of those assignments are as small as the widow and her 2 mites.
Yeah.
Some of them are as grand as, say, a Todd White. And God's called them to miracles. And some of us are more stubborn, and we have to be hit in the head with a 2x4 or kicked by a mule to actually, do the thing that we're called to.
Yeah.
But for every one of us, if the only thing we do is turn to someone who's in bondage and say, you have the right to be free and the price is paid. For them, we are the miracle.
Wow.
We are the one that God has sent to stop time, to hit pause and go, hold on. In 10 seconds or less, I can tell you that the price was already paid and you have the right to be free. Leave the chains, leave the luggage, go to the cross. And that's the hope for everybody, not just in this life, but in eternity, to not burn in hell, to not live in bondage, to not live with the baggage of our lives, but to be free, to be truly free. We can be the miracle in somebody's life when we realize that it's sitting through the green light. It's as simple as that. It's holding the door open for somebody who might otherwise have been caught in a storm. It's paying for somebody's gas out of nowhere. These tiny little acts, entertaining angels unaware, doing things that it just takes the obedience to hear it and realize that doesn't make any sense to me, God. Why would I even do that?
Yeah.
Well, because I know more than you. And I'm just asking you to do what fits in this giant puzzle that looks like nothing to you from here.
So good. So good. I love that. Well, I'm sad that our time is getting to a close here. I always love listening to your stories. I'm really grateful that you're here. I'm grateful to call you my friend. I'm grateful that you have such a heart to have people know about the Lord and know and be in His Word and all of those other things. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Here. Thank you for being a part of all that we're creating. I know you were one of our Bible readers as well, and I just appreciate you and your wife and just the belief that you have in this project. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for tuning in and watching. And I just want to pray over you that you would step into new levels with the Lord, that maybe, just maybe, you will realize the small miracles and the things that He's doing every day for you. And I pray for what Jay Loren was saying. He was talking about sometimes you can be the miracle in somebody's life and you don't realize it. Sometimes just paying for that gas or just whatever. So I pray that you would talk to the Lord today and you would ask Him, Lord, I want to be used by you in even the small miracles. And I pray that He would reveal to you and show to you how you can step up today and how you can be a miracle in somebody's life. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.